we're gonna do this over. Okay, so today is February 27th, and this is Debbie Davis, and I am here. I am just wanted to tell the story about what happened here with John Tjornhom's mother. John is here, and his mother passed away. What day was it? At M-Heath just a few days ago. It's okay. So I just wanted to document just for everybody in the community to know, for everybody who has elderly parents. Okay, I've heard horror stories now since this happened. I had no idea this hospital had such a bad reputation. I have now found about 10 lawsuits online going back to about 2008 of medical malpractice, discrimination. You can look it up online. Fairview Edina lawsuits in Edina, Minnesota. Okay, so there's medical malpractice lawsuits, illegally recording. They illegally record people without their permission. Illegally recording patients. I mean, that was one of the most craziest ones I found. Okay, but John is going through a really hard time over this, because this is just, the whole thing was so traumatizing. I just want to tell you, share briefly. It started on February 16th, just a couple days after I got home from California, got back here and back to Minnesota, and her oxygen went low in the middle of the night. Her oxygen somehow went low out of nowhere, and John tried to give her oxygen. He had a couple bottles of oxygen, but he couldn't keep it up, and so he thought maybe she had a lung infection. So that's why we brought her in, and he thought maybe it was just an infection. Okay, so then we brought her in, and just because I was asking and right away the doctor comes out, a nurse, after we had literally just sat down for like 1 minute, and she comes up to John and says, well, your mother is dying, and starts, speaking all these words after, like, I don't even know how somebody could have assessed somebody that fast. And so I thought that seemed odd, and I started asking her, some questions like, how could you assess somebody that fast? And she had the guards remove me just for asking questions. So I was literally dragged out of there by the guards. They have their own guards. So, okay, I don't know how it's wrong to just ask a doctor questions at a hospital, but this is a really scary hospital. So all I was doing was asking questions. And then, then what happened after that? They gave her some antibiotics, right? They gave her some antibiotics, and then she seemed to be doing better the next day, right? They gave her some oxygen and some antibiotics, and she seemed to be doing better the next day. And, but she hadn't eaten, right?
Yeah, she had eaten that same day, but
she was eating that day, but then,
not at the hospital,
though. But then she was there for a few more days, and then you found out that she hadn't been fed, that they said they tried to give a feeding tube, but he doesn't know for sure if they tried to do that. They said that she wasn't eating, or she was aspirating or something when they tried to feed her. And then they told him that she wasn't eating. They were trying to feed her, but she was aspirating. So they tried to put a feeding tube down, but then her oxygen went low again. Isn't that what they told you?
Yes.
Yeah. So and then you were like, well, how long has it been since she's eaten? Then you were trying to figure out, well, if she's not eaten, how many days has it been now since she hadn't eaten in how many days?
I don't think she ever had a meal the whole time she was there.
Yeah, and like they wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't let me go back there. The final day, that day when I tried to give him food, bring him food, the security wouldn't even let me bring it up. So I dropped it off at the back security, and you came down to get it. You know, they would not let me go up there, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you came down to get it. Okay, so I I didn't go in. They were trying to have me arrested or something for trespassing. You know, just for dropping off food. This place is very dangerous. Okay, then then you said, well, if she hasn't eaten, can we put if the one feeding tube, there's two different kinds of feeding tubes. There's the one you can put down the throat and the one you can put in the stomach. And I said, well, maybe they can try to put one in the stomach. And then you tried that the next day, and they refused to put that in the stomach.
Yes.
They said no. They said, no, we can't do that. And then you said, well, if you're not going to do any more treatment for my mother and you're not going to feed her, then I would like to have my mother moved, is what you told the physician, right? And we were thinking, at this point, we were obviously seeing how dangerous this hospital was. And so we were trying to see maybe if a different hospital, and they would not let you move her. And the physician just said no, even though you're power of attorney. And you have medical power. John has medical power of attorney, and there's two different kinds of power of attorney that you had, right? Like a regular power of attorney and medical. And they would not listen to a thing they wouldn't do a thing he asked.
Right.
So yeah. And so then I talked to a neighbor here since then, and she said she lost her friend over there that was only like 64. She went in for COPD, and normally they could bring it under control. It's with some kind of medication, you know, but she died there, and they would not let this lady who was her friend go visit her. So not only are they, you know, it's like, okay, and then the final day that she died, that your mother died, they said they were giving her a pain medication, is what they told you. Dilaudid?
They gave her
something. Said they were giving her a pain.
A medication that was respiratory repressive, and it was called Dilaudid, and I knew it would cause trouble.
So I think she was already having problems breathing, and then they gave her a pain medication, and then that seemed to just completely shut down her breathing.
Caused hypoxia.
Yeah, and what was the reason for giving them a pain medication to begin with? They didn't tell you?
To euthanize her.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to euthanize her. I mean, is what he thinks, and I mean, I don't know. So he basically just watched it. They said they were giving a pain medication, and I wasn't there. I didn't see any, you know, and then all of a sudden her breathing started shutting down. Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess that's what happened, and then this lady over here said when she went to go visit her friend who's only 64 at M-Heath to try to check on her with the COPD, they would not let her go in. So the guards seem to be involved in not letting people have visitors either, so you can even check on what the doctors are doing, you know. And so and then I talked to this other lady. This other lady since then who had her 80-year-old mother died there as well. Or she said she went in overnight and they gave her something, and by the next day like she seemed like she was almost brain dead, and she died 2 days later at home. So now this is the third story I've heard personally around here. So just a warning, to people in this community about this hospital. And it seems to be very dangerous in the hospitals right now for elderly people. But the one lady was only 64, so it doesn't seem to be targeting the elderly. So I just wanted to let people know. So, but yeah, I'm in. I mean, it's just been one trauma after another, and it's just been really hard. But you know, this should worry everybody in the community. What's happening here, you know? So I just wanted to do the update here about what happened at M-Heath.